Hello there YouTube, this is PolarBear084 here, back with another episode of A Bear's Guide to Hunting. Today we take on Lunastra's significant other, the Teostra, the Emperor of Flame. He's very cool. He's styled kind of like a lion dragon, and I don't have anything bad to say about that. But he is a very similar fight to Lunastra. To the point that they have almost exactly the same moveset. They have almost exactly the same styling, and almost exactly the same tactics as well. There aren't really any changes in this fight. So the main thing that you're going to want to do, actually I'm going to run back to the start because I hit the turbo button on instinct. My apologies on that. This emulator does have a turbo button. It's the right trigger, and I've been using it to kind of help me at least kind of get through some other quests that I need to do that we don't really need to cover, either repeats or reskins of other monsters. So apologies for that. I'm going to try not to do that again. But anyway, Teostra is the exact same. There's no real differences here. The only difference that we'll be noticing in this fight is that the volcano is nighttime at the volcano, which means that the lava flows are much larger and cut off a lot more of the area. You can see that Area 4 is now this kind of zigzag maze, when usually it is just a large flat open area. And Area 7 is also cut off. Because the lava flows have increased. So it does make fighting Teostra harder, because there's more opportunities for him to be in the lava where you can't hit him. And there's also more opportunities for you to be standing next to lava, which does stack with Teostra's terrain aura damage as well. So you can end up taking twice as much damage than you would usually, which is not a good place to find yourself in. So yeah, that's the first difference. The other difference, we are using a different weapon. We are using the Wyvern blade Verde. He is weak to water, he is weak to dragon. You won't have access to dragon unless you give your cat the dragon attack ability, which I would recommend because it does allow you to break his horn. But we're going to see if we can use poison to our advantage here, and maybe get rid of that damaging terrain aura of his for more than once during the fight. The other thing that we have as well, I forgot to mention this last time, is that we have added 3 Earplug jewels to our armor. So we now have Earplug as well as Sharp Sword and Reckless Abandon 2. So we have Expert Plus, I think it's 20%, and we have Sharp Sword, which means we lose sharpness slower, although with the amount of bouncing we do, it doesn't necessarily affect us that much. And earplugs, which will protect against a lot of roars of the creatures that you have to deal with so far, except perhaps Diablos and Monoblos. I believe that and maybe Gravios. I believe theirs require a high-grade earplug. Now this Elder Dragon is hiding from us, which is a problem because it's cutting into our 25-minute time limit. For anyone who isn't aware, the Elder Dragons in Monster Hunter Freedom Unite are fairly unique. You have to deal 30% of their HP as damage within 25 minutes, and if you do, they will leave. They'll flee at the 25-minute mark. So what that means is, effectively, most quests turn into... Where is this guy? Most quests turn into a kind of a race against time, because it's very easy to do 30% of their health as damage, but it's very difficult to do 50% or 60%, which is what you want to do if you want to try and get him killed in 2 quests, which I would recommend. Here he is. I don't think I've ever fought him out here. That's why I didn't look. Missed him. And he wind-powered me. Alright, I think we're far enough away here. You can already see he's got much the same abilities, much the same attacks. He's got the explosion, he's got the flamethrower. He can get poisoned, which removes his aura, just like Teostra. Lunastra. He has the tail swipe, just like Lunastra. They are pretty much one and the same, these 2 creatures. You could call them soulmates, I suppose. So yeah, the fight will progress in pretty much exactly the same way as with Lunastra, barring the environment changes, obviously. It will be pretty much exactly the same. It's in the same area, except one time it is at night. And yeah, so if you haven't seen the Lunastra video, I'd recommend watching it, because it's where I cover a lot of these in a bit more detail. But he does have the explosions. The red powder means that the explosion will happen in a tight circle around him. Yellow powder means that it will be in a loose circle around him. There'll be quite a bit of space between him and the explosion. So what that boils down to is that if the explosion has red powder, you want to stay away from him. If the explosion has yellow powder, and you're somewhat near him, you want to be as close to him as you can be. But yeah, so you definitely want to drink your Immunizers, because it negates that aura damage that we have to deal with him to a certain extent. It doesn't completely stop it from happening, but when you're away from him, it does let your health heal back faster, which is definitely what you want to have happen. You can see our health is coming back to us relatively quickly. What it does is it doubles the health regeneration. It doesn't double the speed, but it does, of the red bar, sorry, not. It doesn't regenerate past that. It doesn't double the speed, but it doubles the amount. So while it might not look like it's doing more, it is. But yeah, so that's pretty much what you want to do. I'm going to drink the Demondrug and Armorskin that we have. The loadout we're using here is pretty much exactly the same as with Lunastra. That was close. We've got 2 Armourskins, 2 Demondrugs, we've got 3 energy drinks, just because you do a lot of running. I'm going to drink one of those now. There is 3 life powders, because you do an awful lot of healing. Here's that yellow powder you see floating in the air, and you can see just how far away those explosions are happening. Alright. Attacking on his sides is definitely the safest place to attack, because he doesn't really have any attacks that will hit you there. I'm not really close enough to run towards him in time, so I'm going to step back, and you can see that the explosions don't reach the entire, or don't cover the entire arena, but they do reach quite far. So you're going to have to get good at judging whether you're far enough away that they won't hit you, or whether you're in danger zone and you should run in close just to be safe. But yeah, trying to hit on his side is the best place to hit, because it's the safest, but you will bounce off a lot, because his wings are quite strong, I guess is the best word. So around about his hind leg is where you want to be, because you avoid the jumping, you avoid the charge, you avoid the cross-body claw that he does, you avoid the flamethrower, you avoid pretty much every attack bar the explosion and maybe the tail swipe, depending on where you're standing. So definitely attack on his left or right hind leg, it doesn't matter which, but just be aware that he can turn quite quickly, as you just saw there. So try to keep that in mind. Don't get too committed to a combo that you can't back out of it. I see red, I run away. So I did mention that Dragon Attack is useful to have on your cat. My cat is a pacifist, mainly a healer, so that's not really helpful for me. And I'm not swapping out Coco for anybody before you suggest anything such as that. But so it is a good idea to have if your cat isn't a pacifist. Give them Dragon Attack, because what they can do is they can actually break Teostra's horns. And the same is true of Lunastra, Chameleos, pretty much any of the Elder Dragons require dragon damage to break their horn. While you don't have access to that personally, because there's no weapons you have that have dragon damage at this point in the game, your cat does have access to the Dragon Attack skill. And the way that it works is that as long as you've done 1 point of dragon damage to the horn, you can then fill in the rest with whatever damage you have. You see how long the range of his claw is there. That's why I recommend the rear leg and not the front leg. But yeah, so you can fill in the rest of the damage yourself with whatever weapon you brought. And as long as he is, I believe it's beneath 60% health, so as long as you've done 40% of his health to him as damage, that horn will break. And the reason that you want to be so interested in breaking any of the Elder Dragon's horns is that it will remove their aura effect. So with Kushala de Aura, it will permanently remove it. With Kushala Deora, it will remove the wind effect, the high pressure wind or high gauge wind that she has. With Lunastra and Teostra, it will remove their area of effect damage that they have. And with Chameleos, it will actually make Chameleos permanently visible, which does make that fight a lot easier. So while it's not a tactic that I have taken advantage of here, it is a tactic I would recommend investing in, or at least seeing how well it works for you. So you can see I was standing by his rear leg, he couldn't hit me with the claw attack there. I want to be towards the back so the wind pressure pushes me away a bit, but it pushed me into the wall. Looks like he's leaving now. Teostra tends to favour Area 4 and Area 7. Like I said, this is the first time I've seen him in Area 2. So, you know, typically I find him in Area 4, and that's why I was so very lost. He looks like he's going to Area 7. He's flying over Area 3. Well, it did look like he went this way, so he might be in Area 4. Let's check there first. So yes, that's pretty much all you need to know about Teostra. Breaking the horn I would recommend. There is a chance that when he's sleeping, he did go to Area 4, that when he's sleeping, if he gets away from you and he goes to sleep, that his horn can regrow. But if your cat has the dragon element anyway, that shouldn't really be too much of an issue. You just have to put that damage back into his head, and that should kind of solve that problem for you. You also may notice that the poison tactic doesn't really work that well. You don't really hit the Elder Dragons often enough to build up poison after the first time, because it takes an extra effort to poison them after the first time they've been poisoned, and not every hit applies the poison element to start with. And poison, I think, does kind of fade over time. So if you put like 2 hits of poison in, like this, then you don't hit them for like another 30 seconds. That poison's probably gone from their system, and you need to start from scratch. So this is why, not add on to that the fact that they're semi-resistant to poison, to Teostra and Lunastra both. I wouldn't really recommend it as a strategy. But I figured since this is largely the same fight, we can try the strategy and kind of at least semi-prove, I guess, that it isn't really as effective as you might think. It's definitely not as effective as it is against Kushala Deora, where it is incredibly useful and honestly the best way to handle that fight. Alright, I was hoping I would get a chance to roll there, but I got greedy and I was punished for it. Also, the other issue with poison is it really doesn't last very long against the Elder Dragons. So even though it does remove their aura, it only does it for about, I would say, 10 to 20 seconds. And then you're right back at square one. Alright, let's see if we can't get some damage in on Teostra's tail, shall we? Because this is the second time I'm fighting Teostra. Normally, when I fight the Elder Dragons, I kill them and then start from scratch, just because typically I'm able to put in enough damage that the fight would be too short to kind of explain their kind of little quirks, their little foibles. But because Teostra, I wasn't able to get that much damage in, because as you're seeing, he doesn't leave many openings for you. But also B, because he's very similar to Lunastra, there isn't quite as much to discuss, or quite as much depth to discuss it in. So I figured we'd be fine fighting him the second time here. Right, let's see if I can't paintball this guy. There we go. Yeah, you can see just how tricky fighting him in Area 4 can be. Right now I can't really do anything because he's in the lava. If I go up to try to fight him, I will take twice as much health damage, because the terrain, like I said before, the terrain damage from his aura and the lava do stack. And that is something you definitely want to be aware of. A lot of red powder. He's not very happy with this today. The other thing that I might have found in the wiki, you can correct me if this is wrong, because the wiki isn't necessarily very clear on whether this only affects... I got hit by the explosion there. Only affects other Monster Hunter games, or if it affects in Freedom Unite as well. I think that's just due to the age of the game. But what it mentioned is that the Elder Dragon auras can deflect regular bullets and regular arrows. Only elemental arrows, status arrows, cluster bombs, that kind of stuff will actually get through. So I'm not sure if that's true. Feel free to correct me in the comments. I would love to know if that does impact Freedom Unite, or if that's just the newer games. I might also, after this, come fight him as a gunner for a very brief excursion and see if it's true. Because I think that's definitely good knowledge to have. Because that would allow you to put in more damage if you were a gunner. Because, you know, you don't have to worry about closing the distance between you and Teostra and Lunastra. But the counterpoint to that is that you have half the defense, typically. And so you are way more likely to die in one hit. Even if the deflecting bows, or deflecting arrows and bullets isn't true for this game, I still don't know if I would necessarily recommend it as a strategy. Just because it's incredibly high risk, and I would say it's definitely easy to screw up as a strategy. Right, so we've hit the 15-minute mark here, and you can see that he is definitely not slowing down. We have staggered him now twice, or at least I guess we flinched him there. He didn't actually stagger. We staggered him once. But we definitely haven't gotten anywhere close to, say, chopping the tail off. That was another flinch. That's a good sign. That's another flinch. That's a good sign. Alright, we have gotten our spirit gauge as well. That's nice to have. I thought he was doing the explosion, but he wasn't. This is going to punish me. No, I was able to flinch him out of it. He got enraged. Ah, that's what it was. Even that far is not far enough away to not get hit by that high wind pressure when he gets enraged. That's interesting to know. I'm glad we dodged that. That would have hurt a lot. So with Teostra, the same kind of warnings apply as Lunastra when he's enraged, in case you hadn't realized. Explosions become larger, the flamethrower becomes much longer, as you can see there. I think it's actually 3 times as long, which is quite ridiculous. Explosions become larger, so I'm going to get out of the way. You can see how bigger they are. It kind of makes it so that there is no safe zone close to Teostra when he's enraged, so you definitely don't want to push your luck. Obviously also damage increases and speed increases as well, just like every other creature in Monster Hunter Freedom Unite, so you definitely don't want to push your luck if you can avoid it. Alright, let's see if we can't flinch Teostra a couple of times, or knock him down like we did with Chameleos. Because I do feel like that same strategy would work. It's just harder to get it to work because he can put in so much damage just with the aura of effect that he has. Alright, we did actually stun him there, but we are taking quite a lot of damage still. Alright, looks like he's leaving. Yeah, he's leaving. And the way we stunned Chameleos, if you haven't watched that, I would recommend it. It definitely provides some useful tips for how to fight something that you can't actually see most of the time. I doubt he's landing here. Yeah, he's going to Area 7. I'm going to let my Immunizer heal me, or do most of the work in healing me as we run there, just so I can save healing items. But yeah, in the Chameleos fight, the best way to stagger him, and I think most of the other dragons, is that you get your spirit gauge full, you unload it, and then the only attack you can do after that is the special attack, the triangle circle attack. And that can push you away from them and then set you up for another good combo of attacks. So triangle, circle, and then triangle if you don't bounce is a good string of moves that you want to kind of get used to doing. So there's triangle, there's circle, there's triangle again. It's pretty much an endless combo. It is very useful, as long as you don't die due to heat aura effect. You can put in a lot of damage from that. And I think that's why that combination is incredibly useful against Chameleos. It's less useful against Lunastra and Teostra, purely because being close to them is damaging. Oh, I completely misread how he was going to do that. Let's run away. Let's take a high potion. Mega potion, sorry, my bad. Wrong franchise. But yeah, it's definitely not as effective a strategy, just because being close to him is very dangerous and you have to pull away at some point to let your Immunizer heal you. Alright, I'm assuming... Yeah, this is yellow. Okay, we can put some more damage in. You can see triangle, circle, triangle is very effective. You can get in a lot of damage there. That was rude. Alright. Let's see. This is yellow. I don't want to run in close to him right now, though. I do want to take a Mega Potion. The other thing with the explosions as well, of course now it's red, is that you may notice that they sometimes go clockwise, sometimes they hit in random areas in a circle around Teostra. And that's really just to make it so that you can't predict where the explosions are going to be, so that you can't really try to stay close to him during the red explosion. You really just have to get away. Like that was clockwise, the one previous was in a random circle. He's now enraged. Yep, that still wasn't far enough. Alright, cooling effect has expired. Now, the immunizer does prevent your health from going down without a cool drink, but it does mean that your health won't go up either, which you definitely want to have happen when you're not close to Teostra, otherwise it's just a battle of attrition or a war of attrition at that point, and he will win. You can see that he does try to claw you when you're behind him, and it doesn't ever work just because of how far away from him you are. His claw does usually have a good range. It will pretty much hit a 180-degree area. That is dangerous. I was able to iframe my way through that somehow. Sorry about that camera. So yeah, Leap of Faith is something I try to avoid doing just because it puts you out of action for quite a while. But it is very useful. The iframes it provides are invaluable if you can't get away. No, I didn't mean to eat this. Thankfully his charge, the way he leads his charge, sometimes you can just stand still and it won't actually hit you. But it depends whether he's targeting you, as you can see here, or your cat. It's very different. As I mentioned in Lunastra's video, I was more coherent about it there. I'd probably recommend checking that out. But the way to handle his charge, or both of their charges, is when he hunkers down to charge, you start running in one direction, and then when he actually begins the charge, you start running in the opposite direction and you roll. And what that does is it forces him to start leading to the right, for example, and then you start running to the left and he can't correct in time. It's a pretty good way of avoiding that attack fairly consistently, as long as you remember to do it, which I frequently don't, because I'm just kind of trying to plan when my next point of damage is going to go in and keep track of all of these different things. When you fight him more than once, it does get easier, contrary to the footage you're watching right now. See, he'd already started running at that point, so I really just had to kind of commit. The strategy works well when you're far away from him, or when you see it coming a bit better than I do. But if you don't, then you really just have to run one way and most likely do a Leap of Faith. Alright, I believe he's leaving again? He is, okay. It looks like we're over the 20-minute mark. How much time do we have left? We have a minute and a half. And you see, this is really the issue with the Teostra fight. You spend so much of your time healing the terrain damage that he deals, and so much else of your time just running, that you really don't have much time to put damage in. So you can frequently see Teostra's fight, and Lunastra's too, go to two quests, maybe three. And as I mentioned before in previous Elder Dragon videos, the best way to get their quests to reappear, because when you fight them the first time, the quest disappears, and then you have to do a couple of other quests to get it to reappear. The best way to do that, there we go, we chopped his tail, so at least we did achieve something in this quest. He's very upset about it. But the best way to get their quest to reappear is to just do any gathering quest. Just hand in the Paw Pass immediately, and then come back. That resets the quest list, so it makes it more likely that the quest will turn back up. And it also resets the Pokke Farm, so you can get that honey, you can get those mushrooms or anything else you've been trying to farm. So I would recommend doing that for sure. I wanted that to be a roll, not a leap of faith, but that's just not how it worked out. That one I wanted to be a leap of faith. I don't think he's enraged. No, he isn't. So yeah, the tail being cut off does mean that he's under 30% HP, because he has to be under 30% HP for the tail to be cuttable. And he is now fled. Because we hit that 25-minute time limit, and it checked to see if I did 30% of his health as damage. We did, so he left. Let's cut his tail. Well, let's carve his tail. That's pretty much Teostra. Very similar to Lunastra in pretty much every way, including weaknesses and everything else. And that's pretty much it. So I would, like, as you can see here, the poison blade isn't the way to go. I wanted to kind of show you how ineffective it is, because as you've already saw how to handle these guys the most effective way in the Lunastra video. So I figured we could try a different way and just kind of showcase why it doesn't work, because it might not necessarily make sense when you first hear it, but you can very much see that poison just doesn't happen often enough and doesn't last long enough to really effectively counteract that heat aura. The best way to do that is, as we said in this episode and in Chameleos' episode, give your cat Dragon Attack, wail on his horns, let the cat hit it at least once, and then you can damage the horns and he will lose that effect permanently. Alright, but that's pretty much it. I hope that this helped you. This is the end of the Elder Dragon series. We are done with them now. We're going to be moving on to the variations of Rathalos. We've got Azure Rathalos and Pink Rathian to deal with. So yeah, I hope that these helped you overall to deal with these Elder Dragons. They do seem quite terrifying when you first hear of them, when you first deal with them. But at the end of the day, they're just like any other monster. And as long as you know how to handle them, they're actually not too bad. But yeah, so if this did help you, go ahead and leave a like. Go ahead and subscribe to the channel as well, so you know when we deal with Azure Rathalos next weekend. And if there's anything you want to tell me, if there's anything you want me to improve, let me know. Let me know in the comments. I would love to improve these as we go along, so do tell me. But anyway, that's going to do it. I hope this helped. Happy hunting, and I shall see you next time.